headlines of this hour on VTV News. Prime Minister chairs government's monthly meeting. And volume of cashless payments increased by nearly 60%. In our world news, Bangladesh imposes indefinite curfew.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in to VTV News. I'm Huyen Tan with the top stories. The socio-economic situation continues to trend up positively, with many sectors achieving better results in July compared to June. Overall performance in the first 7 months surpassed that of the same period in 2023. This was the assessment made by government members at the July government meeting chaired by Prime Minister Phie. Industrial production in July increased by 0.7% compared to June and by 11.2% year-on-year. The Purchasing Managers Index also reached 54.7 points in July, the highest in nearly 6 years. Total import-export turnover increased by nearly 22% year-on-year. Actual FDI reached $12.55 billion, the highest in recent years. Now looking ahead, the Prime Minister emphasized several goals, which included maintaining macroeconomic stability, controlling inflation within the limits allowed by the National Assembly, strongly promoting growth, ensuring major balances with higher surpluses, effectively controlling debts and budget deficits, and ensuring political stability, social order, safety, and national sovereignty. Now, according to the Ministry of Planning and Investment, as of July, the total newly registered capital, adjusted capital, and capital contribution from foreign investors reached more than $18 billion, up 10.9% over the same period last year. Notably, foreign direct investment capital implemented in Vietnam in the past 7 months hit a 5-year high for the same period, reaching $12.55 billion, up 8.4%.
The revenue of this South Korean enterprise in the first 7 months reached about $300 million, up nearly 400% over the same period last year. Positive business results are why this enterprise decided to invest more capital into this 7,000 square meters production factory.
We invest in Vĩnh Phúc because of its geographical location near Nội Bài Airport, good infrastructure, and abundant human resources.
In Vietnam, most Japanese enterprises operating continue to increase capital and expand production, thereby increasing the capital flow in Vietnam.
Japanese firms are still very active in investing in Vietnam, but somewhat cautious about investing in big projects, and also some administrative delays will hinder.
Regarding the capital structure, the processing and manufacturing industry attracted nearly $10 billion, accounting for 79.5% of total FDI. Real estate business activities and the production and distribution of electricity and gas followed.
Some industries that the Vietnamese government has prioritized in recent times have continued to attract huge investment and created growth momentum for localities.
Not only has the number of projects increased, but the average investment capital scale has also been outstanding. Vietnam remains an attractive destination for global investors, with projections suggesting this year could see a record-breaking $39 to $40 billion in foreign investment.
On Sunday, the National Competition Commission joined hands with the Ministry of Industry and Trade, as well as over 120 enterprises, to organize a program on promoting sustainable production and consumption 2024 in Hanoi. Currently, the legal policy system on sustainable production and consumption has been increasingly improved, with the participation of retailers and management agencies. Within the framework of the program, the IUB Fund commits to becoming a companion by providing preferential packages with interest rates below 3% per year, supporting businesses in transforming green production activities, effectively implementing the green growth target, and achieving net zero by 2050. Now, in the first half of this year, non-cash payments surged by nearly 60% in volume. To meet user needs, banks have implemented digital transformation strategies, upgraded their IT infrastructure, and developed tech-driven payment products and services with innovative features.
Taxi is the means of transport that Theo often uses instead of driving herself, as it saves time searching for parking. In addition, the integration of electronic payment apps with car booking services has made it easier for her to travel.
I can pay with my bank account before the end of the trip without having to pay by cash or card. Moreover, banking apps offer many discount programs for customers booking taxis. Even on rainy days, traffic jams, or days with events, I still get good prices.
Previously, Ling often used her cards when paying, but now she's switched to online payment thanks to its convenience. This form of payment is not only used in shopping malls and supermarkets, but also in restaurants, coffee shops, and traditional markets.
When I go shopping, I only need to use my phone to scan the QR code. For example, if I buy an item that costs 42 cents, I enter that amount into the app on my phone, scan the code, and it's done. The seller doesn't have to look for change, and I don't have to look for small amounts of money to pay.
Statistics from the State Bank of Vietnam show that in the first 6 months of the year, non-cash payment transactions increased by nearly 60% in volume and over 35% in value compared to the same period last year. Online payment methods are leading the trend of non-cash payments, including internet banking, mobile banking, and QR code.
With the aim of establishing Vietnam as a leading seafood processing hub and positioning it among the top 5 countries globally by 2030, the seafood industry has been working to enhance the competitiveness of its products. There is a strong focus on leveraging science and technology to create value-added products with a commitment to both domestic supply and international export. This approach is increasingly being adopted by many industry players.
Rather than opting for fresh products for her family's daily meals, Phie has decided to use pre-processed or ready-to-eat seafood items. This choice has consistently driven revenue growth of approximately 10% for the store, particularly among urban residents.
I usually get home around 6 to 7 p.m. Given my busy life, I prioritize using clean and safe products.
Many people opt for convenient options that require minimal preparation, such as pre-processed products.
Vietnam can leverage domestic fishing to produce surimi, minced fish meat, which presents significant potential. Estimates suggest it could contribute up to $1 billion annually in the near future. These products are currently exported to 40 countries and involve 100 businesses. Beyond wild fish, farmed species like pangasius are also processed into surimi and fish meal. This process has boosted economic value by 40 to 50% compared to traditional fish wholesaling methods.
Small fish are often used as animal feed, which yields a low value. When these fish are processed into surimi and fish meal by businesses, they generate significantly higher added value.
We hold an advantage over Ecuador and India due to our larger market share in value-added products. In the future, this increased value will likely attract more businesses to our market.
Processed products offer greater value than raw materials. For instance, while a frozen export product might generate $1.5 to $2 for every dollar invested, a processed product can yield $5 to $7. By expanding deep processing, Vietnam not only enhances the value of its products, but also positions itself as a dominant player in the global market.
The export value of rice in the first 7 months of this year reached $3.27 billion, up more than 25% compared to the same period last year. This achievement is partly due to the high export prices of Vietnamese rice. The average price for export reached $632 per ton, an increase of more than 18% compared to the same period last year. India's ban on the export of all non-basmati white rice has caused world rice prices to surge. This has boosted the export value of rice exporting countries like Vietnam and Thailand. Overall, the total export turnover of the agriculture, forestry, and fishery sectors in the first 7 months of this year reached over $34 billion, up nearly 19% compared to the same period last year. Increased volume was seen in many key agricultural products, bringing significant foreign currency earnings to the Mekong Delta. In the first half of this year, the GDP growth rate of the agriculture, forestry, and fishery sectors reached 3.38%. The highest first-half growth in 5 years. Now, with this result, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has raised the export target for the whole year to $58 billion, $2 to $3 billion higher than the target set by the government at the beginning of the year. Now, before we move on to other important updates, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rates of today, August 5th. Coming up next on VTV News. Heavy rains caused significant losses in Hà Giang province. And many solutions implemented to revitalize real estate market. Welcome back to VTV News. Now, heavy rains from Sunday night to Monday morning in several localities of Hà Giang province have caused significant human and property losses. Initial reports indicate that the heavy rains and flooding have resulted in 1 house collapse, 1 death, and 2 injuries in Thông Nguyên Commune, Hoàng Su Phi district. Over the past few days, Hà Giang province has been continuously hit with heavy rains. Recent downpours have been accompanied by thunderstorms and landslides, leading to road closures and damaged public infrastructure. "60 years ago, the Gulf of Tonkin incident took place that led to the United States' more direct engagement in the war in Vietnam. The victory in the first battle on August 2nd and 5th, 1964 has since been celebrated as a historic triumph for the North's army and people. The key to this success was the Navy and Air Defense Forces, who responded to enemy provocations with exceptional intelligence, bravery, and courage."
Lạc Trường, Thanh Hóa. 60 years ago, Vietnamese Navy torpedoes and patrol boats discreetly maneuvered to this location, marking the beginning of the battle to fight off the American destroyer USS Maddox. In response to the urgent need to disrupt the North and hinder support for the southern battlefield, the US began deploying destroyers to patrol the northern coast from March 1964. Tensions reached a peak at the end of July when the destroyer USS Maddox violated Vietnam's territorial waters.
On July 31st, we attacked a commander ship targeting Hon Mae. We pursued it. This confrontation gave us the momentum we needed for the battle on August 2nd, when we attacked the destroyer USS Maddox.
We pursued the enemy from Lạc Trường to the East Sea, moving at full speed and zigzagging to evade their fire. Despite our efforts, we were hit. My machine was damaged and some crew members were killed or injured. I told them, "Stay here, I'll get you to shore. You cannot die out here in the open sea."
By creating the Gulf of Tonkin incident to accuse North Vietnam's Navy of attacking a destroyer in international waters, the US triggered the war's escalation on August 5, 1964. This marked the beginning of a large-scale campaign of destruction, with the US launching attacks along the North Vietnam coast from Quang Binh to Quang Ninh.
We had minimal resources, just 6 88mm cannons and an outdated K440 computer that was slow and inaccurate. Despite these challenges, 5 to 6 out of every 10 shells exploded. Given the circumstances, I believe it was an excellent battle.
At that time, our naval forces were relatively small compared to the enemy, and our air defense capabilities were limited. However, we chose the right moments to engage, carefully planned our tactics, and used radar jamming to locate the enemy. Despite the advanced aircraft we faced, we succeeded in shooting them down. This accomplishment was invaluable, boosting our confidence and laying the foundation for future battles.
The victory in the first battle stands as a symbol of the Vietnamese people's unwavering determination and resolute spirit. It affirms their bold and decisive fighting resolve, showcasing the Vietnam People's Navy's, and indeed our entire nation's, capability to defeat American troops.
According to the Vietnam Association of Real Estate Brokers, the supply of social housing in the two major cities of Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City remains scarce. The two cities face an average shortage of about 50,000 housing units per year. The Ministry of Construction has reported that this year, Hanoi has only registered nearly 1,200 social housing units, while Ho Chi Minh City has registered over 3,700 units. Research data from the Vietnam Association of Real Estate Brokers shows that Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City will each fall short by over 50,000 housing units annually compared to these registration levels. Therefore, in addition to quickly approving the nearly $6 billion credit package, the association recommends strict management to prevent policy exploitation, ensuring transparency in buying and selling social housing, and close monitoring to ensure the right people are purchasing or renting social housing. The land law, housing law, and real estate business law have been implemented 5 months ahead of schedule. This stricter legal framework is boosting public confidence in market transparency. Additionally, recent measures to assist people with home loans are expected to spur positive changes in the market.
Thai has decided to purchase an apartment. Previously, home loan interest rates averaged 8 to 9% per year, requiring her family to pay $500 to $550 per month in interest alone. Now, with a preferential interest rate of 5% per year, the monthly interest payments have been reduced by nearly half.
Overall, I am very satisfied with the recent interest rate support, as it aligns well with my family's income.
5 to 6 out of every 10 people buying apartments today require bank loans, typically covering 50 to 70% of the apartment's value.
According to data from State Bank, outstanding debt in the real estate sector has surpassed $119 million for the first time, setting a new record.
We have significantly lowered interest rates on all personal loan products, including home purchase, car purchase, and consumer credit loans. New loan interest rates have dropped by nearly 1.5% since the end of December 2023.
In addition to reduced interest rates and extended preferential periods, house prices are a key factor. Currently, affordable apartments priced under $1,000 per square meter are scarce. Savills Vietnam reports that 42% of housing is priced over $160,000. 55% falls between $80,000 to $160,000, and only 3% are priced under $80,000.
The focus has shifted from interest rates to whether prices are reasonable and the current lack of supply. People are also awaiting upcoming legal changes, which are expected to address supply issues and market imbalances.
The new law imposes stricter controls by limiting deposit collection to 5% of future house price. Real estate developers must secure the rest of the funding from legal sources, helping prevent scenarios where projects are delayed or funds are misused.
Among the many types of folk music, sum is considered the most purely Vietnamese art form. Despite its many ups and downs, more young people in Hanoi are becoming passionate about singing sum. They are reviving sum in unique ways, making it a professional entertainment activity in Vietnam's capital city.
For many students, this is their first time experiencing some singing. They listen to the songs and do quizzes based on the lyrics. They also learn to play the Vietnamese two-chord fiddle and practice keeping the rhythm.
I find it very interesting because I have never heard some singing.
Parents nowadays are willing to pay for their children to enjoy and experience new activities. This summer show has been registered to maintain a regular weekly performance schedule. This means it has begun to compete with other summer clubs.
At first, parents were hesitant because they didn't know if their children would like it. But after our introduction, they became more willing to spend money on their children to try something new.
Some singing also follows tourists on buses around Hanoi, becoming a new nighttime cultural service in the capital, while creating a stable source of income for young adults.
We design an experiential journey for our audience. There is a formula to it, and our artists are now storytellers, not just performers.
Amidst the bustling sounds of the streets, the sounds of some still resonate with young people. With passion, technique, and professionalism, some singing continues to thrive in contemporary life.
Coming up next in our world news. Bangladesh imposes indefinite curfew. And Jordan makes diplomatic move to avert Iran-Israel conflict. Now moving on to our world news, the Bangladesh government has imposed an indefinite nationwide curfew on Sunday, starting from 6 p.m. local time. This marks the first time Bangladeshi authorities have implemented such strict measures to control a wave of violent protest. At least 91 people were killed and hundreds injured on Sunday. In addition, the Bangladeshi government also declared a 3-day national holiday starting from Monday. High-speed internet services have been cut, and social media platforms such as Facebook and WhatsApp are currently unavailable in Bangladesh. Protests, which erupted in Bangladesh last month, have left at least 150 people dead and thousands injured, and resulted in around 10,000 arrests. The United Nations has expressed concern over the recent violence and called for a dialogue between the government and protesters. Jordan's foreign minister arrived in Iran on Sunday in a last-minute diplomatic effort to prevent a potential conflict between Iran and Israel. This is the first time in 2 decades that a senior Jordanian official has visited Iran. The visit follows French President Emmanuel Macron's recent call to the King of Jordan, emphasizing the message that the conflict must be prevented at all costs. However, in response, Iran said that there was no longer any room for compromise. Tehran stressed that the assassination of the Hamas commander in Tehran was an act that crossed too many red lines. Iran is also calling for a meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, urging Middle Eastern countries to impose sanctions on Israel. French authorities have arrested nearly 200 rioters since the Paris 2024 Olympics began on July 26. Now, in the first week of the sporting event, authorities arrested about 200 people, of whom 180 were detained. Overall, crime rates during the Olympics have dropped as police and security forces patrol the streets, according to French authorities. France has so far deployed 45,000 police and gendarmes, along with about 20,000 military personnel, to ensure security for the event.
I'm here the whole afternoon, probably until 3.
A replica Viking ship has berthed in Montenegro's Adriatic port of Bar on a years-long trip through European waters. It is inspired by the Norse seafarers who set out from Scandinavia to explore, trade, and conquer a millennium ago. More in the following story.
The Saga Farman is a full-size archaeological reconstruction of a 10th century Viking cargo vessel, or nar, crafted from oak and pine. The ship is based on remains found in Norway as early as 1893, but only excavated in the 1970s. It took years of hard work by enthusiasts to make an exact replica of a nar.
It takes a long time because most of the craft we do is by hand. So we don't use much of modern equipment, but we use a lot of the axes, different kinds of axes.
The Viking Age, spanning the 8th to 11th centuries AD, saw Norsemen journey from Scandinavia aboard timber longships to stage raids, trade and settle across a wide region, including North America, using their mastery of maritime technology.
This is a project that has been going on for many decades. It started in the late 70s, early 80s, mainly with collaboration between Denmark and Norway. And yes, we're essentially trying to recreate that lost knowledge because the Vikings didn't write down how they sailed their ships. So by reconstructing the ships and going on longer expeditions, we are trying to find that knowledge and recreate that knowledge.
In the latest leg of its journey, the ship sailed from the Aegean Sea into the Adriatic. The next stage will take it around Italy, followed by a voyage up the Italian coast planned for next year.
Now let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app at VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.